Well, thank you for coming on the red carpet round table.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome. Now, let's talk about your history. You've done a lot. FBI, the list goes on and on. Before we dig into that,
it. Okay.
your background,
Okay.
what made you choose this career?
Okay. I'm gonna have to go way back. I think it was built into me as a little girl, and I didn't really discover it until I became an adult. I didn't think it was possible and didn't realize it was really in me. So let me see if I could summarize since I was 5 years old, since I went to every performance that my mom had. She was a Renaissance woman. She was a mother of six, a doctor, a concert pianist, an opera singer, and an actress. And she was under 5 feet tall.
Wow.
Yes. So that is what I grew up with under this roof. And I remember going to the theater for my mom's rehearsals, as well as television production studios, because she and her best friend, who was also an opera singer, had like an entertainment channel. And so I found myself as a young girl in the green room in the theater and also in the dressing room at the television production studios, peeking at my mom to see when she was going to be done. So I grew up in that world of entertainment. I was born in the Philippines, grew up there until I was 8, and then moved to the United States. So I remember my sister reminded me that when we were about 8 years old, somebody had asked my sister and I what we wanted to be. And this person asked me first, and she said to me that my answer was, I want to be an actress at 8. And then my sister said she wanted to be a doctor, and she is a doctor now. But when I respected my sister so much, I looked up to her so much that when I heard her say that, I said, "Oh wait, I think I want to be a doctor too." And the funny thing is that now I play a doctor on television. So, looking back then, I thought, "Oh, that's interesting that I said actress," but then changed my mind, and so now I play a pretend doctor on TV.
Mhm.
So,
Tomato!
so
Tomato! Sorry, I mute myself so you don't hear me sneeze, but what is the most pivot moment in your life so far?
the pivotal moment. Okay. So I was going to tell you, so since that time, when I became an adult, I started taking acting classes. It wasn't until after I made a decision
Hmm.
I used to teach. I used to be a teacher. And I told my husband that I really wanted to try acting full time, which meant, I had to stop working. And he had to, support the whole family. We had two, well, we still have two kids, but they're young adults now. And at the time, it gave me time to be a mom to them and gave me some flexibility in my schedule. So I would say that that was the pivotal moment where I made a huge decision to stop teaching and pursue acting full time. That was in 2013. Yeah.
Wow. Out of all the roles you played, because I know you've done so much. I
Hmm.
mean, and congratulations, by the way. I
Thank
mean,
you.
all the roles, and I've seen all the shows that you've been on, and and I love every show that you've been on. And
Thank
to
you.
me, it's just I love criminal shows. So I watch
You do.
FBI, I watch the list goes on and on and on.
Mhm.
So what I know I shouldn't be saying this, but what was your favorite? And I know when I say favorite, you can't pick a favorite because
Right.
as an actress or an actor, you say favorite. Wow. I can't do that. I mean, I like every one of them. So I'm trying to find the right wording, but what was your most, I'm just going to say, your favorite roles out of
Okay.
all of them?
I can answer that. I would say I have two favorites, and I'll tell you why. There's a reason for both. So the first one is the NCIS New Orleans role that I played as La Wanetaya. And then the other role was a recurring I had on General Hospital. And the reason why I liked both is because there were villainous roles, first of all, where I had to almost play a dual role
Hmm.
where I kept a secret. It's so much fun when actors get to do that. So I was masking the fact that I was this very trusted person in politics. So I was working for the she was kind of my boss, you know, she was like the prime minister. And
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
in the General Hospital, I was playing a double agent. So I was an FBI agent, but I was a hit woman. Okay.
Wow.
So both roles entailed me being a very powerful female
Hmm.
and uh, had one. I played a role of authority,
Hmm.
and I also had a dark secret
Okay.
that I was hiding, you know, from other people. And so the role that I had in General Hospital, I got to do a little bit of stunt work, which was fun. And I got to play opposite Mara West. She's
Hmm.
an amazing actress and Emmy winner. So I got to play with her a lot in a lot of the scenes. And also Maurice Bernard, who's been on the show forever.
Yes.
Both of them amazing, amazing actors.
Hmm.
And then in NCIS, I also got to play along with Scott Bakula and all the
Wow.
other series regulars. So
Hmm.
that was a master class
Hmm.
on both those productions. I learned a lot from all of them. You know, that they're heavy hitters in the industry, and I got to learn one on one, and just being able to be able to do that was a dream.
Well, amazing because NCIS New Orleans is still going.
Right.
It's amazing show. You know, the main character, um, he was in Star Trek, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, and but it's to me, it's just that that show is so good.
I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's intense, you know,
Hmm.
but it's like I'm glad they're doing it in like in every different cities. Like you have, you know, Criminal Minds was in somewhere else, but
Hmm.
you have CSI Miami a long time ago. That was in Miami. You know, now you had my mind just went blank, but you know, Honolulu, Hawaii Five-O.
Yeah.
So to me, it's exciting that they're doing it in every different cities to show
Yeah.
what it's like there, and
Hmm.
that's what I love about it so much. And I think it's because I'm drawn into police dramas, and I think it's interesting to me because, and it sounds weird to say this, but sometimes it's not weird to say this because it's like it does happen in real life
Hmm.
because you hear stories on, you know, sadly on news, on
Right.
TV of, you know, crimes. And
Hmm.
one thing I love about actors and directors and producers and in entertainment industry, we may wait a couple years, but we end up telling that person's story, the family member's story in a TV
Hmm.
show or in a movie. And
Hmm.
a lot of people, a lot of families, I appreciate that. And they're like, thank you for telling
Yeah.
my story to spread awareness.
Yeah.
And we, that right there gives you chills. You know, it gives you chills that, you know, you watch your surroundings, you know, it teaches that the, you know, it's true.
Hmm.
You don't know people, right? But you know, but we as entertainment industry, we tell people stories.
Mm.
And I think that's I don't want to say most people, but I'm going to say it. Most people don't realize that we make shows like this, but we also make movies and TV shows that's maybe one or two episodes based on a true story about
Right.
crime scene. And that
Yeah.
we tell stories. And family members may meet you or other actors out there and say, wow, thank you. You told my story. You're changing the community and you're spreading awareness to in the towns, the city, your own state to, to say, hey, this is what
Hmm.
happened to me. It can happen to you.
That's what's so special about what I do. And I think this
Hmm.
is one of the reasons why I keep doing it. As a storyteller, and as an actress performing and telling these stories on the different mediums, because I also do stage, film, television, is that, it's very healing to the audience, especially
Hmm.
provide the space where they feel seen and understood and heard by just telling the story.
You just said it right
Mhm.
there.
Hmm.
That
And
you
it's
said it
such
right
an
there.
honor and a responsibility that I take seriously as
You
an
know, and
art.
I think, and I know I keep saying I think it's, but we know for sure, you
Hmm.
know, we are changing somebody, and
Yeah.
maybe you have experienced it and you can tell me, but you go into a movie theater and you watch a movie
Hmm.
and you have an actor or an actress say a line, maybe at the beginning or the middle or something during the movie, and then you're sitting there in the chair and everybody else is leaving except
Hmm.
you or someone else next to you, and you're quiet and you're just taking in the moment of the word of the person that said that line.
Hmm.
And that's what you're right. We're storytelling. We're
Yeah.
telling people to change people. We hope we get the audience attention. That's what we want. To be in the movie theater and say, hey, that person got my attention. And then I want to go out there and change the world, change
Hmm.
my community, change my neighborhood. That's where it
Absolutely.
starts.
Absolutely. And you know how powerful narrative is?
Hmm.
Um, I know that in therapy they use rhetoric to help people find the words to, explain their emotions. And therapists, help change narratives that people play that's not very good for them. If they have a negative narrative about themselves or about their environment, and just changing that narrative to a more positive and hopeful outlook can change the person, it's life or death, and it's exactly. So even you were talking about the words that an actor or an actress would state in a movie, a film, television series, whatever it is you're watching, that could literally help someone who's struggling. And,
Yes,
and that's what I hope to do, continue to do as a storyteller, to be able to speak out and express those narratives, in an artful way,
100%.
useful way. Hmm.
No, you're absolutely right. It to me is I'm a big mental health advocate.
Same.
I really
Hmm.
am.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to talk about this. I suffer depression.
Mm.
And I lost three friends to suicide.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear
So
that.
um thank you. So um this, mental health for me
Mm.
is very important, and it's very important we
I
talk about
agree.
it. And
Yes.
um try not to get emotional for me, but we as human beings, we
Hmm.
are, as myself as a podcast host and yourself being an actor and all the directors and producers out there, we are telling stories
Hmm.
and to bring awareness for the community. It's
Hmm.
about mental health, about anti-bully, all this stuff that we hope to let the community know that
Yeah.
you are loved. You are loved, you are cared for, and there is there is help, right?
Hmm.
And I I bluntly will say this. I feel like that I've said this before, but I feel like we as entertainment industry, we're
Hmm.
not talking much about it, and that could be me. That's me. But I feel like we should talk more about mental
You
health.
should. Yeah, I
We
agree
should.
with you.
And I just want, as us as human society, right?
Hmm.
We want to love people. We love people, and I
I love
think,
people.
I think
I do.
I think for me, what the big test was during COVID,
Oh,
because you're
yes.
isolated, right? And
Yes.
you barely see your neighbors or your friends and all that stuff. And I think I enjoyed it for like 3 weeks because it's like, oh yes, binge watching TV shows and
Right.
movies, and you have your own free time. And then you think about it, it's like, wow, I need to pick up my phone and check on somebody.
Good for you.
Right.
I did that a
And
lot.
yeah, and you call them and they're like, "How are you doing?"
Hmm.
And they're like, "Well, I appreciate you calling." I said, "No, don't worry, and we can
Hmm.
sit outside, get coffee, uh, and eat ice cream or whatever, and talk about if you're okay, or if
Hmm.
not, you can tell me." And that again comes down to when you see films,
Hmm.
that's how the community gets affected by words, like you said, and thoughts and storytelling. So again,
Yeah.
100%, I appreciate it, what you're saying.
I'm glad that you started this podcast too with that in mind to talk about it. I think it's very important, especially now. I was speaking with someone yesterday, actually, who helps run a an organization that specializes in rehabilitation for mental health for teens. It's in California. And uh, and I want to support that. I want to support the organization. I'm going to email him soon to see, what they need and maybe even get involved somehow. So when I was a teacher, I did a lot of psychologicals of some of my students who were struggling with anxiety and depression. And then when I became pregnant with
Hmm.
my two babies, my very first one, I went through kind of a postpartum depression, and so
Hmm.
that was kind of scary. But but because I was educated and learned a little bit more about it, it wasn't as scary. And I had some friends who, growing up in high school, who struggled with mental health and illnesses and things like that. So I've always been fascinated by. I read this book called The Broken Brain. I was in high school. I had a dear friend who struggled with bipolar disorder,
Hmm.
and so and I read a lot about it because I wanted to help him. So I've been on that journey since learning about human behavior, and it just so happens now as an actress, I read a lot about human behavior. I read a lot of psychology books. And as I delve into my characters, I ask those questions about, what is their psychology? What state are they in? So yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. I
Well,
think it's
I really appreciate it, because this is what I love doing, and but it's a passion. It's a
hmm
passion, and you don't give up. You keep going. It's a courage to spread awareness for the
hmm
community. And
absolutely.
that's my part. And it doesn't matter if you live in LA, New York, or Texas, wherever. You want to spread awareness. And
Hmm.
I'm so glad I'm so happy. I'm so glad you want to get involved with that organization about mental
Yeah.
health. And I just want to let everyone know that they are loved. They are cared for. because mental health is real.
Hmm.
It's 100% real. So I appreciate you
You.
being involved.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Now back to acting real quick. I'm sorry. Sorry, we couldn't do that
No,
subject.
no, no,
No, no.
no, no. This is
Um,
good. It's important.
yes, we go back and forth. Um, I know you said that was your two favorite roles, but I want to go back into what was the most funnest memory or role on the
Hmm.
FBI scene? What was it like being on set with them? And
Oh, FBI Most Wanted?
yes, sorry, I was going to
Oh,
say yes. What was it?
okay. So I'm gonna do a shout out for my director, Carlos Bernard. Amazing director. He's an actor's director. He's a dream. He directed me in FBI Most Wanted as well as Law and Order.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, yeah, he was my director for that episode as well. And let me just start with FBI Most Wanted. That was really fun because I was able to portray a Filipino mother,
Hmm.
and I got to speak a little bit of Tagalog, which is great.
Wow.
And I channeled my inner mom, which was easy to do. And I remember Carlos, we were doing the scene where I discovered that my daughter had this tattoo on her back. And she was also being implicated in this, somehow getting implicated on this crime. And I'm looking at her like, I don't know her. Who is this person?
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, I remember Carlos gave me a direction where he said, okay, we got the takes, but this time I want you to do a little bit, something a little bit different. And he said to me, you know how you're a parent, right? I said, yes. He said, do you remember those times when you're getting really upset with your children and they've done something wrong? And so you're punishing them and you're giving them there's some consequences to your behavior. And so you tell them exactly what you want them to do. And you're so angry and frustrated that you tell them exactly what you want them to do, like go to your room or clean your room, whatever it is. And they do it. But he said, but you're still so mad that you want to make sure they actually do it. So you make sure they do it and you're still angry. Have you ever felt that way? I said, yes. So he said, that's what I want. I said, all right, let's do it. And so we did it in one,
Hmm.
and music to my ears when I hear the director in Video Village and I hear them
Right.
say, fantastic. Yes, we got it. Moving on. Those are beautiful words. It's like the biggest gift that
Hmm.
for me, at least, when I
Wow.
hear we got it, moving on. And so he comes out, he gives me a thumbs up. I'm like, yes, we're moving on. So that was fun. Um, and my time on set was really fun. We filmed it up. It was in New York,
Okay.
and we were filming it in this neighborhood and in this home. Oh, another thing that was so special was the production designer called me up and he said, "Send me a lot of photos of you and your family and your children, whatever you have." And even like my mom, my dad, and my mom. So at the time, my dad had passed away.
Hmm.
And my mom passed away 2 years ago. But when we were filming that, um, you know, I was very close to close to both my parents. I was
Hmm.
really, really close to my dad. I was really missing him. And so I sent them a picture of my dad. Um, and then when I got to set, there were all these framed photos of my family, of my children, of my pets, and a picture of my dad next to the couch where I was going to be. And I felt like he was watching over me. That was so special. And I felt like I was really in my house. So that's the gift that the production designer gave me that day. And it did not go unnoticed. and I just took it all in. And part of my preparation too is being present in my space as the character and really living in that space before we even shoot anything. So if there's a chance where I can actually walk the space before we take the first shot of the day, that really helps me prep and develop the character more deeply. And sometimes, if we have time, I run lines with
Hmm.
my partner, my co-star, and if they want, if not, that's fine too. But when I saw those pictures, it was gold.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing. It's so um, it'll make you tear up.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. I had to compose myself. But no, it really helped me get in my character too.
Hmm.
I really felt like
That's
this
good.
was my home. This
It
was my
makes you feel home, makes you feel comfortable.
yes, and I really appreciated the cast and the crew on,
Hmm.
and Kellen Lutz he was such a gentleman and so gentle and so helpful. Um, I remember when I got to set, he he gave up his seat because they didn't have a chair ready for me. And we had gotten there and he said, "You could sit in my chair." I said, "No, no, really, it's yours." He goes, "No, I've been sitting all day. You can have it." He just let me have it. He let me sit there because he knew that we had, had a long drive from the city. And and then there were some questions I had, and he was right there answering my question. And I remember I needed a moment, and he got the director's attention, Carlos. He said, "Hey,
Hmm.
what do you want?" He was asking for me. I didn't even have to raise my hand or get anyone's
Hmm.
attention. Just, he just did that for me. And I thought that was very other-centered and very generous of him and thoughtful
Hmm.
because he sensed that I needed help. I mean, come on, what a gentleman.
Wow.
Great human he is. So that was a wonderful experience.
Wow. You had so much fun on set. I can
I
tell.
did. I really
I can
did.
tell. Um, I want to dig into, do you have any upcoming TV shows that you are allowed to talk about? If not, it's okay. I understand. I understand if you can't, it's fine. But there's a lot of good shows out there. You got Chicago PD, Chicago Med,
Yeah.
Chicago Fire,
Well, I will say,
911. Is there anything maybe coming toward those shows? Maybe, maybe not.
this, that there is a new series on Peacock. It's called Blue Ridge.
Hmm.
Blue Ridge series. You can watch all of season one. And yeah, that's all I can say. That the season one season one is wrapped. I'm not in season one. Let's put it that way. But it's a new
Okay.
series. I am very excited about a feature film that I just
Okay.
wrapped on. Not sure where it's going to be
Okay.
shown. However, yeah, I will say this. I have never done a supernatural, psychological
Hmm.
horror thriller film. I had so much fun on the set. Once it's out, I'll reach out to you. But
Yes,
I
please,
just wrapped that.
please.
I just wrapped my scene, but I just got word that the whole production just wrapped today after a month
Okay.
of
When
filming,
it
and
comes out, I have
it's
to have you
gonna be
back.
good. It's gonna be
Okay.
good.
Good. When it like I said, when it comes out, I have to have you back. We have to,
Okay.
yes, we have to talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It was wonderful.
I thought you were gonna say the TV show. Oh, so close.
No, no. I'm trying to think.
But I understand. I understand. I totally understand. You can't say anything, but
No.
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Figure it out. Okay. Okay.
And you never know. I personally, you did great on Law and Order, FBI Most Wanted,
You.
and the list goes on. And I personally think you'll do great on 911. 911. I mean, and on Chicago PD and Chicago Fire. Personally, that's what I
Yeah,
believe.
speak it out there.
Yes,
Oh,
but
I want to book all those shows.
but to me, it shows a testimony. So I talked about this way back, but with one of my guests before. But you look at Law and Order. The
Hmm.
TV show has been going on for generations and
Yeah.
generations,
Uh-huh.
and you look at Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Grey's Anatomy. To
Mhm.
me, it's just I to me it's just how much the audience loves that thriller, shows. And
Yeah.
that is a testimony, like you were saying, the storytelling, the cast members, and the list goes on, how it's amazingly because you're like, I know you remember you watched Grey's Anatomy a long time ago, and you're like, and you haven't seen it in a while, and everybody's still talking about it. It's like, yeah, have you seen episode
Great.
20, season something? And you're like,
Yes.
wait,
Yes.
it's still on TV?
I
And they're
love
like,
Grey's Anatomy.
yes. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh wow, what season are you on? Or what episode are you on? Or like, have you seen the new Law and Order? And I'm like, what? It's still on? So yeah, I was like, and you're like, wait a minute, what? So it's
Yeah.
like to me, it's like it's exciting, gives you chills because that's a testimony how
Hmm.
much the audience loves the show.
Yeah. I love the loyal audiences that watch these long-running shows. I will say this, kudos to the writers. I remember when I was binge watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm still watching Grey's Anatomy.
Don't worry, so
Watch
many
it so
episodes.
much, right? Well, I was really curious about how it was written. So I took a master class on on how Shonda Rhimes wrote the pilot.
Hmm.
I had it was definitely a master class of just understanding how it was developed. Um, I had this renewed appreciation for how the season was developed and how it's written, the dialogue. I've taken a handful of screenwriting classes, TV writing classes, just to understand all the different plot lines and how they overlap and how it's shot. So there, I've done some freelance producing in the past, so I really appreciate the whole process from conception, from the idea to, development, from actual production of it. And then being in front of the camera, performing
Right, right.
as the character with an arc now as
Hmm.
guest star recurring, um, is very exciting to be a part of a world that someone had imagined, and then, you see it
Right,
played out.
100%. 100%.
You know,
And
I
so I want to go
fun.
into this that do you like working behind the scenes as well?
Oh yeah, I do. I do. So in fact, whenever I'm on set, and especially when I've had the guest star recurring
Hmm.
role,
Hmm.
um, with my character having an arc. So I like to watch, if I'm allowed to be on set, to see how they do, how they handle the camera and all the different angles and the pacing, and
Hmm. Hmm.
even just working with some stunt coordinators. When I had to do the General Hospital scenes where I had to do, it was light stunts. I had to be in the car, and then I had to be roughed up a little bit. I had to hold Mara Ava Jerome hostage, held at gunpoint. That was interesting. And there was rain. It was great. It was great. I was having a ball. But
With rain and everything.
it was really wonderful. But anyway, just even the General Hospital, the way that was shot is, so a soap opera is shot differently,
Hmm. Hmm.
just regular TV episodics. The whole environment, the world, it's just different. Every time I'm on set, I learn something new.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, um, Even just talking to script supervisors, there's a continuity issue or things like that. I think it's very helpful. It has helped me having the producing background to be able to be a team player. My goal is to be a creative collaborator and be part of an ensemble of actors and producing teams where I can be a better player, a better team player, and have my voice heard. If they ask me for my opinion or any ideas I have about my character, I love that whole collaborative process. And because we're there to create art, and I want to be as truthful as I can and as authentic as I can after having developed a character to live in this world that they've created. And I have a lot of respect for the production team of artists and creatives who have come together to bring their very best, their talents and their gifts. It's fun to be around people like that, especially if it's a positive environment where people are
Hmm.
just generating creative ideas. Um, you know, I also respect that time is money. So I try not to waste time.
Right.
How to knock it out after, one, two, three shot. That's it.
And
I
they're
try,
gone.
yeah, I try to do the best I can on the first, second, at most third shot.
Hmm.
And I understand their schedule. You don't want to delay. You gotta have done the preparation, done your homework, done the training, done
Hmm.
all the prep work, show up ready. Because you never know.
That's
They
true.
might, yeah. In fact, the last production I did the night before, they did some rewrites. So I got a brand new script that I had to learn. And so I did. I stayed up, learned it, showed up the next day, ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
intense.
It is. It is. And you really have to be trained and be passionate about this because
Hmm.
there are going to be long days. And, I'm still training. It's like working out in the gym. I'm still training.
Hmm.
I
And
still
that's
take
the one.
acting classes, do scene studies with
Hmm.
people. I take improv. I mean, I take voice lessons, you know, movement. I do.
Right.
You got to stay in shape
Hmm.
as you get older. Got to stay in
Exercise.
shape for
But
sure.
that's the one thing that's 100% true about the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
It's not easy peasy.
No.
It's not, and I think and that's the one thing a lot of people have to realize if you're going to get into the entertainment industry, like you just said, is it's not easy. You have to memorize your lines. It's stay up late, get the rehearsal.
If you need to.
Right, if
Yeah.
you need to.
Sleep and rest is
But
still.
I know what you're trying, I know you're trying to say because it takes courage, takes effort to
Mhm.
be in this industry. And you're right because you may have to memorize another line that you memorized before and they changed it.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
You're
but
gonna have to
it's
be okay
part of
with
it,
that.
right?
Yeah. You're like, oh.
Now I know you're a mother. Someone asked this question. What would your advice be for any parents, especially a mother,
Okay.
who wants to put their kids in the
Mhm.
entertainment industry? And what is your advice? Because especially for young ones, about 6 years old, who wants to get into the entertainment industry, what's your advice for mothers and parents?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. As a mother, I actually have a son who's incredibly talented in acting. He did theater in school, elementary, middle, and high school. And I was encouraging him to pursue it, to continue on with it.
Hmm.
But he says to me, he says, "No, Mom, I think I want to do voice acting instead." And so I said, I support that. I support that. If you don't want to be in front of the camera on stage anymore and you do voice acting, I will support that. And so I share my resources. as needed, and he's more of a musician. So as a parent, I would say listen to your child and see what they want to do. If they're still exploring, I would say take classes at your local, drama schools. So, for instance, in Atlanta, so I'm a teaching artist at the Alliance.
Hmm.
Sometimes I sub in and out. I need flexibility in my schedule. So I tell them, if you need a substitute for to teach a middle school or high school class and I'm available, I'll be happy to do that. And I normally teach on camera for them. And I meet a lot of parents, and sometimes I do drama camp for even younger. We devise plays and things like that. And when I do talk to the parents, I tell them, this is a really good place. They're in Atlanta, there's the Alliance Theater, there's also other schools, wherever you are, there's usually a local theater that provides some education for younger kids. And also their schools have plays, and I'm sure they have drama classes. So I always advise that, if their child is interested in acting, for them to audition for a play, take some drama camp classes in acting and theater and musical theater. You just never know, they might not like it or they might just love it. And also within acting, you have on-camera acting and you have theater. So you can even have them explore on camera, film, television, or do stage work, which is a completely different muscle. And uh, I met this young man. I was teaching a class recently, and this young man had been trying out different acting classes, and he realized that he really liked voice acting for animation. And he would never have learned that had he not taken all the other classes where he thought, well, okay, I like those are okay, but I really love this.
Right.
So as young people, just to be exposed to all these different opportunities while they can, and then they can discover for themselves. And just because they pick one track doesn't mean they're
Hmm.
stuck on the track. But I will say this, the caveat for parents, I think, is to try not to live out our dream as a parent through your child. You know,
That's a good
okay.
one.
Okay. That is something that I remember just reminding myself to try my best not to live out my
Hmm.
dreams through my children. Okay.
Wow, that's a good one. Wow.
Yeah, because they're their individual
Hmm.
human beings. They have their own individual personalities and gifts and talents that they need to hone, that they need to tap into.
Hmm.
And as parents, sometimes we could smother our children with our own ideas. And that's a pivotal moment for me as a parent.
Wow, that right there
Mhm.
um got me because I didn't think like that, like you just said. That is wow. That's very wow, powerful.
It is.
That was that's all I have to say because I mean I'm being honest because
Yeah.
you just said it right there. It's
Yeah.
true.
It is
And
true.
I
It
could
is.
tell
Mhm.
from your heart and from you that is a mother's response right there. Wow.
I think
Wow.
on that train, I would have to say this. I would have to add this. When my kids became teenagers, right when I feel like I've figured this out, this parenting thing, I have to pivot again because they're in a new season of development.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I remember I was really struggling, just like, how do I talk to my teens now? They're going through a lot, testosterone, hormones, everything. And I asked myself, how can I love my children better? How can I love them well? Um, And the epiphany that I got was, Okay, how about this? How about I try to listen to them well and meet them exactly where they are and try to listen with my heart and understanding them where they are, what their struggles are, and just keep this line of communication open. Make sure to provide a safe space so they can feel like they can come to me with whatever, no judgment.
Hmm. Hmm.
I had read a book, it's called Shepherding a Child's Heart. And one of the things I got from that was, as our kids grow up into adulthood, like from teens on up to adulthood, the parents have less influence. So, because they go to their peers or to go, maybe other adult mentors, not, away from the parents because they're seeking their own individuality. So it was very important for me to keep this line of communication, providing a safe space so that my son and my daughter can feel like they can talk to me with whatever they have. This goes
Right.
along the lines of mental health too.
Hmm.
And as a caregiver, as a mom, I want to be able to do that. And that also will include, their dreams and aspirations and their purpose in life. I want it to be so open-ended that they don't feel stifled in any way or
Right.
direction. Now I nudge them. I'm kind of like bumper guards, like in a bowling alley. You just kind of hem them in, keep them safe, because for me, safety is important. So
Hmm.
they're as like rail guards, like bumper guards, to guide them through life,
Right.
to ask them questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Questions like that, like, and or where do you see yourself in 10 years? What do you really want to do? What is in
Hmm.
your heart? What do you think you're good at? And
Right.
when
Right.
you ask these questions and you probe for their answer, not what you think they should say, right? As a
Wow.
parent, then to me, that is really good parenting. And that's loving your children well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So,
Wow. Wow. I mean, speechless.
oh,
Um, because that is a mother's testimony right there.
mm,
That is, and it tells about, mother's love. That's
yeah.
where I can leave it. I really can. And I think, not I think, but I'll leave it like I think because you're telling future moms out there who may not be an actress, but they
Mm,
have their kids who are looking up to you or
yeah.
looking at your son or daughters or other kids in the entertainment industry and say, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
You just gave a message to those mothers out there to say, hey, this is it. You just laid it all out right there. You really did. And I think that's
Recognizing that.
I think that's the answer. It's not, I think it is the answer that a lot of people need to hear. And, you know, entertainment industry is not easy for kids.
Mm,
It's not. You have auditions. It's so tough, right? They don't, I, I know for sure. I shouldn't say I know for sure, but I'm going to say that way, that kids have a hard time with auditions. Like, why I didn't get the role? Was I not was I not tall enough? What's wrong with my hair?
mm,
And that right there is what you said as a mother. You can bring peace. Bring
mhm,
peace to have them understand. And
mhm.
there's a lot of kids out there and Disney Channel and all those out there who have gone through the same thing. And but also, it's like, don't give up. If this is what you want to do, you
Mm,
go for it. This is your
mm,
passion. This is your passion. Keep going, keep going, keep
yeah.
going. It's always tell you like for me, you tell yourself, okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I see myself here. Okay, I reached the spot. Or do you
Mhm.
tell you, then you tell yourself again, okay, in 5 years, I've reached it. Okay, now. In 5 years, where do I see myself? There. And you keep going and keep going and keep going. And that right there, what you said is a true testimony that you
Yeah.
can tell adults and tell kids, especially kids in the entertainment industry. And that's a message that to me is it's speechless.
I want to add one more thing to this too. As an adult, having gone through, acting, it's been what, 12, 13 years. I've been doing this professionally.
You had to think there.
Yeah, I was like 15 years. I would say a solid 14, 15 years. Okay.
Hmm.
Because I dabbled in it before, but
Okay.
like professionally, right? So about 15 years. And even as an adult, I have to check myself, right? Am I being authentic to myself? Because
Wow.
sometimes you can get lost in the
Mm,
whole hustle, in this industry. You can get lost. So much noise, so much noise.
wow.
And you have to really talk about mental health. Check
Mm,
yourself. When I say you got to be in shape, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, psychologically,
wow, you said it right there.
have to you have to have a sound mind. And if not, make sure you have a good support system. You have a good family support system, close friends who really care about you. And hey, there's nothing shameful about having a therapist. Having a therapist if needed, and a counselor, a lay counselor, whatever you have around you. I know I definitely seek that support because there are so many peaks and valleys in this industry. And sometimes I joke around with my friends who want to go into acting. They said, "So how's it go?" I'm like, "Well, this week I didn't quit. Sometimes I quietly quit, just to, but I know me, I'm never going to quit. But sometimes when I say that, I mean, like, I'm just going to just stand back a little bit and take a break and not be obsessive or think about acting for a while. And I just take a moment, or a week or a month where, I don't lose myself in it. And you know, I think, okay, am I being authentic? I'm enough. Like what I have is enough. Like I don't need to, you know, placate to anyone's idea of what they think I should be. Because at the end of the day, it's my essence that I bring to the role anyway. That's what makes me unique. My life experience, my point of view, how I speak, how I move. These are all unique qualities that I bring to the table when I audition. So I have learned to do my best in every audition, do my homework, break the script down, understand the world, understand the tone. If the show's already out there, I can Google it and watch it, watch
Hmm.
the world, understand the sides. And if I can get a script, I'll read the whole script. Like if I
Right.
can get a hold of the script, I will read that entire script.
Hmm.
S- Not, it takes a while. I just love to learn. I love to read anyway. So I do that. And every role to me is an opportunity, every audition is an opportunity to play and use my creative imagination, create a character and get to be that character. It's great. Even if it's a quick turnaround, whatever time I have
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
spend on it, I'll do that. And then I do the audition and I try really hard to just not overthink it after it's done and be like, okay, I did my best and I will move on. And if I get that call, on the phone from,
Hmm. Hmm.
hey, you booked it, or even if they say you got pinned or you're on a veil check or you're on the short list or you're in the mix, whatever they say to me, the fact that I got the audition is already a win.
Right.
I try to say yes to every audition I get if I can, as much as possible. And then when I get a pin or an avail check or get thrown in the mix, that's another win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Book it. Amazing. Amazing. And then I get to work on set.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I do not take anything for granted. I'm very, very grateful for
Right.
every opportunity that I get.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing your powerful testimony. It's amazing. It really
Thank
is. It
you.
really
Thank
is.
you.
And it has changed me, because
Really?
as a mother, as you're saying, you're a mother, and you said powerful earlier in what you were saying earlier.
Mhm.
It's amazing. You want to let the kids be what they want to be. And
Yeah.
and that right there, I'm not a parent, but that right there will stay with me. That will stay with me. That right there was powerful. As
Glad.
I just, yeah, that is amazing. I don't know how to describe it. That it's just to me, and being a mental health, it's like you said, your health is number one. So, wow, powerful message from you. Powerful
Oh,
message. I
good.
much, much appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Um, Where can people find you before we sign off? But no, before I let you go, and again, I'll say this through two times, but I definitely would love to have you back.
Okay.
You are amazing. I've learned so much, and it's to me, it's the I, I can't, I don't know how to describe it. As yourself being, like I said, a mother and telling the testimony, like you said, and just, you know,
Well, thanks
let
for
them,
having me.
let them be who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Let them who they be are. That right there, it's still coming to me. It keeps coming in my brain. It keeps
Okay.
rewinding because that right there, I did not know that. And it didn't come to me like that. And
Yeah.
and when you said that, I had to pause while you were talking. My brain clicked when you were saying that, and it's like, wow, wow. And it's like, okay, and now I was like, that is very true. And it's like I didn't think like that before. I really didn't. And it was like, wow, I that and your message about mental health right there too. It's just
Mhm.
it's just gave me chills. It gave me chills.
Really? Well, I was going to say this, in my quest to learn how to love my children well, part of that was me asking myself, what is unconditional love? That is so, I would have to say that when I first heard that phrase, unconditional love, was with my mom. Okay. And she was very a prayerful woman. She loved God, and so do I. And so
Amen.
faith is a very, very important part of my journey.
Hmm.
I mean, I respect whatever faith you are, whatever
Well,
you
I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, so
okay. I am too. So
amen. Anything can happen with God.
yes. And when I remember her explaining that to me, that God loves unconditionally, and I thought, that resonated with me since I was a child. And so as a parent, I would ask myself, what does that look like? Well, to me, loving someone unconditionally is putting my ego aside, putting my agenda, whatever it is that's attached to my ego aside. And what does that look like as a parent, parenting my daughter Claire and my son David? And even my husband, Derek, how can I love my husband unconditionally, my family? And so when I had that in mind, I thought, okay, this is what it would look like,
Hmm.
what I just described earlier.
Right.
And,
Wow.
I'm not perfect. There's progress. There's not
I'm not
perfection,
perfect either.
right? So I'm still learning how to love
Hmm.
well conditionally and learning how to set those healthy boundaries and showing my kids how to do that as young adults. Like
Hmm.
how does one set healthy boundaries? And
Right.
so, as far as me putting myself in check, making sure that my own mental health is good and stable and healthy, being a witness and an example for my own
Mhm.
kids as they navigate young adulthood is the best I could do is live by example. you know,
Wow.
practice what you preach, whatever that looks like, however that looks like.
Hmm.
Children they learn more from watching their parents than they do listening to their parents. And
Very true.
right? And so if whatever they're listening matches how their parents are behaving, that's even more powerful. But they're watching all the time.
Hmm.
And I
Wow.
just try to be as authentic as I can. I'm not perfect, obviously. And
No,
whenever I
no,
make a mistake,
nobody's perfect.
apologize. I apologize. I say I'm sorry. Repentance is a good thing. Um, but I also demand respect as a human being. I'm not a
Hmm.
doormat. I try to model like what does that look like respecting me as a parent? What does it look like to honor your parents? You know,
Right.
and when you show them love, you know, in their own time, they will show you love back. But again, I try to show my love unconditionally, and if it comes back to me, that's great.
Wow.
So,
Amazing. Amazing. Powerful. Thank you. Thank you again. That I'm mind blown. I really am. I
oh,
really am. It's words can't come out. I'm being honest. It's wow. Wow, wow, wow.
but thanks for
That's
giving me the space
no,
to
you're very
speak.
welcome. Very welcome. Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so my handle is Amor Owens Actor. I think there's only one of me out there, Amor Owens Actor. And on Threads, let's see, it's the same. And X, I don't use X very much, but yeah, I'm more Owens actor on there. And I'm on IMDb under
Okay.
Amor Owens. Um, my Facebook is not public, so I mean, I guess they could look me up, Amor Owens, but I had a public profile, but for some reason I don't have. No, I'm gonna start one. I'm gonna have my
Okay,
manager
okay. But
manage it.
Instagram is the easiest, everyone.
Instagram and Threads if you're on
Hmm.
that as actor. And I started TikTok, but I'm not a huge TikTok person. But next time I'll tell you when what I'm going to be in the film that I
Okay,
was
I
talking
can't
about.
wait.
I'll
Thank
reach out.
yes. I appreciate you. And I followed you through Instagram. That's what I love about social media. We can find each other in the entertainment industry. We support each other. That's the one
Yes.
thing about entertainment industry. I want to say this real quick is that when you're getting into the entertainment industry, you're a family. For
Yeah.
social media, we support each other, and that's how I found you. And thank you again.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thanks for
and
having
I'm
me.
I'm just my brain keeps going back what you were saying earlier. I'm being serious. It's really mind blowing. I have I've never thought of that way, and it's true. Wow, it's just I'm that is a really powerful message. Really is. I'm much, much appreciated from the bottom of my heart. I'm being serious. It really has
You're
changed
welcome.
me. Thank you. And
Truly. Oh,
thank
you're
you
welcome.
for coming on. I look forward to having you back on. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon.
I would love that. I would
We'll
love
stay
that.
in touch. Thank you
Let's stay in
again.
touch. Thank
And
you
again, I
so
do
much.
apologize earlier. I had to sneeze. I know my face kind of looked a little
I was
rude,
like,
but
what's happening?
no, no, I'm sorry. My face, that's how my face is when I sneeze. My whole family gets on to me like that. They're like, your face looks so serious when you sneeze. And I was like, wait, I can't help it.
I thought you were saying something to me, and
No,
I'm
no, no,
like,
no. That's how I
okay,
sneeze. My whole family's like,
okay.
my best friend, he gets on to me. He's like, when you sneeze, you look so serious. And I said, really?